An international search and rescue team is racing to find a missing submersible carrying 5 people who disappeared during a trip to the deep-sea remains of the Titanic shipwreck. Operated by Ocean Gate Expeditions, the submersible, called the Titan, launched from St. John's, Newfoundland on Sunday. But nearly 2 hours into its roughly 8-hour expedition, the craft lost contact with a research vessel on the surface.
Our crews are working around the clock to ensure that we are doing everything possible to locate the Titan.
Speaking of James Cameron, another person closely familiar with the Titanic is the director James Cameron himself, along with his Oscar-winning movie. Mr. Cameron, I understand you've made a number of dives to the wreckage site too. Just give us your sense on what you're feeling right now, looking at these images of the shipwreck that you studied so closely, and now hearing that another tragedy has been tied to the same area.
Well, I've been down there many times, and I know the wreck site very well, as does my friend Bob Ballard. I've made 33 dives. I actually calculated that I've spent more time on the ship than the captain did back in the day. It's such a violent event is first and foremost in our mind. I'm struck by the similarity of the Titanic disaster itself. So that's the nightmare that we've all lived with, and we live with it in the back of our minds. So it's absolutely critical for people to really get the take-home message from this.
What we've been looking at is a trip to the moon. It's an illustration from a book by Jules Verne written in the last century, long before such a voyage through space was even conceived of as possible. Reality has more than once been foreshadowed by fiction. But here, just for example, is something that goes beyond, far beyond, anything we might ascribe to mere coincidence. In 1898, a little-known author named Morgan Robertson wrote this remarkable piece of fiction about a luxurious ocean liner, larger than any ship existing in its time, filled with wealthy passengers and a rich cargo. And on its maiden voyage, this ship, labeled unsinkable, struck an iceberg one starry April night and sank in the cold waters of the North Atlantic. Now, 14 years after this book was published, a British shipping company, the White Star Line, built a vessel of almost exactly the same dimensions as those imagined by Robertson in his novel. It too boasted a list of wealthy and famous passengers and made the audacious claim of being unsinkable. And one starry night in the North Atlantic, one April night, April 14th, 1912, it struck a giant iceberg and vanished beneath the seas. Now, the similarities of size, speed, and fate are truly incredible. But the most startling parallel of all, Robertson named his fictional ship the Titan. Its real-life counterpart, as we all know, was the Titanic.
His name is Morgan Andrew Robertson. No, he wasn't a passenger on the Titanic. He was an American author who in 1898, 14 years before the Titanic's maiden voyage, published a short story originally titled Futility and later renamed Wreck of the Titan. That in itself is not remarkable. What is remarkable is how eerily similar the events in his story are to those of the real-life Titanic. His story features an enormous British luxury liner called the Titan, which is described as the largest craft afloat and the greatest of the works of men, and, like the Titanic, was considered unsinkable. The Titan is described as 800 feet in length. The Titanic was 882. The Titan carried 24 lifeboats, as few as the law allowed, less than half needed for her passenger capacity. The Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, less than half the number required for her passenger capacity of 3,000. On an April night, the Titan, moving too fast at 25 knots, hits an iceberg in the North Atlantic, roughly 400 miles from Newfoundland. On April 14, 1912, 20 minutes before midnight, the Titanic, moving too fast at 23 knots, strikes an iceberg in the North Atlantic, 400 miles from Newfoundland. The Titan sinks bow first and 2,500 souls are lost. The Titanic sinks bow first and 2,208 people die in the frigid waters. In both cases, the agonizing screams of the dying are heard by survivors.
When did you first realize how serious the trouble was?
Oh, I didn't until I got to this country. I thought it was part of the trip, to tell you the truth. I didn't realize that there was any danger.
You didn't realize there was any danger?
No, I thought that was a pretty hard way to get here, but I didn't really think it was as bad as it was until after.
Did you see the ship sink?
I did. It sank very quickly.
That must have been a most dramatic sight.
It was, because you could just see the lights going down and down.
Did you hear the music playing?
I did.
Almost till the end?
Till the end, I heard them play.
When people say that music played as the ship went down, that is a ghastly, horrible lie.